From Studio A, this is WTAP News at 6.
After a hot summer, the Mid-Ohio Valley is hit with a chilly and rainy weekend, which led to flooding in the Mid-Ohio Valley. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Phyllis Smith. Our flooding team coverage starts in Wood County. Several streets and parks are flooded. It's the fourth time this year that Point Park has been flooded by the Ohio River, and that's where we find our Megan Vanslow. She's going to be live with the latest on the flooding. Megan, what can you tell us?
Phyllis, I was standing in this spot at 5 o'clock and the water was not this high, and look at it now. Public Works tells us that they've closed off the gate to Point Park for car access, and they're monitoring these river levels to see if or when they may need to close that flood wall. Now, levels here in the Ohio River in Parkersburg are at about 28 feet, and that's expected to crest between tomorrow and Wednesday. Meanwhile, across Wood County, the roadway is blocked in the 4800 block of Stillwell Road due to high water. Laurel Creek Road is flooded near the intersection of Old St. Mary's Pike. And the 2800 block of Core Road near the driving range has high water, and that's the video you're seeing here. The 2800 block of Walker Road near Blaze Run has a hill slip and road closure. Emergency crews are on scene there at Walker Road. And there's a road closure and at Jerry's Run Road near Lee Creek. It has a tree down in the roadway there, and the intersection at Walker Road and Oak Grove Road has reported high water across the roadway. In Wirt County, the 5500 block of Garfield Road reported a rock slide sometime last night. So officials are encouraging people to be careful out on those roads with high water. The U.S. Corps of Engineers says just 6 inches of fast-moving water can sweep away a grown adult. 12 inches takes away a small car. 18 to 24 takes away many SUVs and trucks. Plus, when you pull up, you never even know how high or deep that water really is. So remember to turn around, don't drown. And we'll have full updates of all those road closures and high water affected areas online at WTAP.com. I'm Megan Vanslow reporting live from Point Park. Phyllis, back to you.
Thank you for that report, Megan. We'll go to flood coverage in Washington County next, but first, let's check in with meteorologist Kirk Greenfield for an update on what's happening with the forecast now. Kirk.
Well, it's a cool and overcast day in the valley, but fortunately the rain showers have come to an end. When we take a look at our current situation outside, we can see at the Highmark, West Virginia sky cam, 68 degrees right now, 76% relative humidity. The wind's out of the west, barely 3 miles per hour, and the barometer 29.98 inches and somewhat steady. Here's the river flood levels. As you can see, the 5 o'clock observations, virtually everything along the Ohio River is expected to head towards flood stage. The exception being Parkersburg, which is going to stop just short of 36 feet. And the tributaries, the other supporting rivers, are already beginning to either fall or they are steady and expected to fall over the next several hours. Well, when we take a look at the watches and warnings, again, there is a flood warning for Meigs County, eastern Meigs County at 10:40 until 10:45 tonight. And then as we get into the northeast part of our viewing area, the flood warning for eastern Washington, Wood, Pleasants, and Tyler counties will be running until about 12:45, just after midnight. So we have 2 separate crests that are moving down the Ohio River, and they are beginning to moderate. They'll generally crest between Tuesday and Wednesday, as you heard. The radar satellite composite, as you can see, well, we're looking at, again, showers that continue to move up from the southeast, and they are on the other side of the mountain. So the good news is we won't be seeing too much more. I'll be back in a few minutes with more. Back to you.
Thank you, Kirk. Now let's get back to flood coverage, this time in Washington County. Our Michael Tater is live in Marietta at the river levee, where the water has been rising quickly all day. Michael.
Well, Phyllis, people have been coming down in droves all afternoon just to take pictures and video of the river rising. And if you see off to the right, if you were here for the Ohio Stern Wheel Festival just a few days ago, this is where the entertainment barge and all of the stern wheelers were docked. But what a difference a day makes as the river continues to rise, and it's expected to rise more. Currently, the river is at 31.6 feet as of 5 p.m. The latest projections have the river cresting at 36 feet at the Marietta Pump House, and that is expected to happen between Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, back in February, the river almost reached 38 feet, which is considered moderate flooding stage. and it again got up to 36.4 feet in April. I spoke to a homeowner here on Ohio Street who's watching the levels very carefully.
The way it's looking right now, we're not too awful concerned. It was worse back in February, but as long as it doesn't rise much higher, I think we'll be okay.
Now this morning, Frontier School District made the decision to dismiss school early, and it's closing schools tomorrow. So that includes Frontier Middle and High Schools, Matamoros Elementary, and Newport Elementary will be closed tomorrow. Parents I spoke to up at Newport Elementary say they're very glad that this decision was made early so that they can make arrangements for their child tomorrow. That's the latest for now. Reporting live from Marietta, Michael Tater, WTAP News.
Thank you, Michael. A grand jury in Athens County indicts 5 people on numerous charges in the death of a man whose body was found last week in a shallow grave. Christopher Meadows had been missing since July 25th. Authorities recovered his body last week in Shade, Ohio. Benjamin Cochran, Ronald Smith, and William Milam face aggravated murder and other charges. James Pascal and Cheyenne Hawley also face numerous charges. Athens County authorities say Cochran, Milam, and Smith were allegedly involved in Meadows' kidnapping. They say he died during the kidnapping, and the 3 men allegedly buried his body with help from Pascal. All 5 suspects are scheduled to be arraigned September 19th in Athens County Common Pleas Court. West Virginia's Senate candidates take aim at a key battleground seat. Today, our Washington correspondent Kyle Madura begins a week-long series diving into the details that separate Senator Joe Manchin and his challenger, State Attorney General Patrick Morrisey. The first piece looks at the issues of gun control and the Second Amendment. Thank you for joining us, Kyle.
My pleasure. Both Manchin and Morrisey paint themselves as pro-gun, but the two take different approaches to balancing personal rights and public safety. In his re-election race, Senator Joe Manchin, a gun owner and hunter himself, isn't running away from his controversial 2013 gun control proposal. Manchin and a Pennsylvania Republican wrote the bill after nearly 30 people died in the Sandy Hook school shooting.
We're not going to take your guns away. I'm going to protect your Second Amendment rights as much, if not more, than anybody else. I'm also going to protect your children.
He says the government should put together a registry, not of gun owners, but those prohibited from owning a firearm. Now, as then, Manchin calls for stronger mental health programs, better school security, and more, but not universal, background checks.
Any commercial transaction needs to have a background check. 80–90% even of gun owners in West Virginia approve of that.
This is another dramatic area of difference between myself and Joe Manchin.
Manchin's Republican challenger, State Attorney General Patrick Morrisey, calls the idea radical. In our interview, he didn't support any new restrictions or propose new privileges.
I'm not in the camp of those who believe that all these gun control measures will reduce crime and violence. In fact, I think just the opposite. Enforce the current laws that are on the books, number one. Number two, let's not overstep.
If you would like to know more about where the candidates stand on guns and the Second Amendment, you can find our full interviews online. In Washington, Kyle Madura, WTAP News.
Thank you for that report, Kyle. And tomorrow we plan to continue our coverage of this race between Senator Joe Manchin and Attorney General Patrick Morrisey. This summer, members of the community offered ideas on how to deal with the area's addiction crisis. This week at a summit at West Virginia University at Parkersburg hopes to find ways of using those ideas to tackle the problem. The Addictions Action Summit will also seek comments from the general public. The event organizer says the goal is to promote both awareness and involvement.
We got ideas from judges, from people in recovery, family members who had dealt with the things that they dealt with that they thought they needed help with, that all of us may not know about those.
The summit is set for Thursday night, September 13th from 6 to 8 p.m. at WVUP's Multi-Purpose Room. WTAP is one of the sponsors of the event, and it's funded by the Sisters Health Foundation. And speaking of West Virginia University at Parkersburg, the university's president branches out to network with some leaders of the community. The Parkersburg Rotary Club held its monthly meeting this afternoon at the Blennerhassett Hotel. The guest speaker was Chris Gilmer. He's been the president of the college for 3 months. He talked about the exciting new things offered to students this year at WVUP and his vision for the college. He emphasized the importance of networking with the Rotary Club.
Get to speak to some of the business and civic and industry leaders in town, share with them how it is that we're trying to be responsive to the workforce needs of our community, and hopefully they'll take that message forth and share it with others in the community.
The university president also talked about how it's extremely important to make WVUP student-focused, community-focused, and employee-focused. Before we head to break, a Parkersburg festival is called off due to the bad weather. Riverfest has been postponed until next year. Most of the sternwheelers that were in Marietta last weekend for the Sternwheel Festival that you see here have gone back to the safety of their home harbors. The boats that stayed will head out as soon as the river settles enough for them to travel. Point Park is where the event was supposed to be held. The park is under a few feet of water right now and covered in debris from the Ohio River. Organizers say they are reimbursing vendors and bands that have paid in advance. Well, still ahead, oil and gas drilling is taking off in areas like Ritchie County. Experts explain why that isn't the case for neighboring Wood County. Get the details next at 6.